Welcome back to Miguel Zakova Show with me, Miguel Zakova. Today we're going to talk about Reborn again, since in the Fire Arc video I actually promised to cover the Arc Trial and Primo Family filler arcs, alongside my coverage of the Future Arc in general. But by the time I actually finished reading the Future Arc, I did not feel like watching those episodes. But I still wanted to watch them eventually and talk about them, so that's what this video is for. So the Future Arc is actually split into 3 different arcs. I probably should have said those in the actual Future Arc video, but whatever. The first part is the Raid Arc, as it covers our heroes going to the future in their invasion of the Japanese military base. The second part is the Choice Arc, which covers the battle between the Vongola Familia and Byakuya and the 6th Funeral Race in the game known as Choice. And the third and final part is the Future Final Battle Arc, which covers their final battle in the future. These 2 filler arcs take place in between these sections. The Arc Trial happens between the Raid and Choice arc, and the Primo Family happens between Choice and the Future Final Battle, or the final few episodes of the anime, essentially. Despite being filler arcs, and the connotation that usually holds, well, these are pretty decent, especially the Arc Trial. This is helped by the fact that not only did Akira Amano actually help the writing of these arcs, at least from what I heard, but how they fit not only into the narrative and lore established in the proper manga is very good. The reason I would say the Arc Trial is particularly better is because of that reason, as it feels like we actually get to learn a lot more about the world, mainly because like the actual manga doesn't focus much on the Arc Boleno outside of Reborn, Canelo, Uni, and Lao Merch. The rest of them either being one-off villains in the Daily Life arc and Vari arc respectively, or we don't even meet them properly until the last chapters of the Future arc, all existing through chapter pages. Full chapter pages, but still just chapter pages. So them actually getting some focus and time for us to see the characterization Amano has created for them in more than like 2 or 3 chapters helps to express their importance in the story a lot more. The arc villain I like the most is Fawn, the Storm Arc Boleno, a Chinese martial artist and master of Ipin, a character I have not mentioned in a while because they haven't really done anything since the first arc of the series. Fawn is also a character I would not be able to say I like at all because again, he is in 2 or 3 chapters of the actual manga at the very end of the Future arc. Beyond just like extra characterization, the Arc Trial arc is also just like a decent story, as it has our main cast going back to the past in order to gain the Arc approval so they can open the Vongola boxes together at the end of the raid portion of the Future arc. The thing I like most about this arc, outside of the already stated greater chance for Arc characterization, it just lets regain focus on the family and past Snow wants to protect, as every trial is constructed in a way that shows some aspect of Suna's ability as a boss. This setup allows almost every single Vongola member to actually get a moment of focus, unlike the actual Future arc itself. Like the episode where we see Suna, Lambo, and Haru formulate a plan to catch Fawn, or Suna, Yamamoto, and Ryohei putting their brains together or to break through Viper's illusions, are a good way to use the characters and show off their relationships. Also, it leads to just generally entertaining episodes with like random details from the Future arc actually getting expanded upon more in the filler arc. If, for example, it's rarely stated that Yamamoto's dad is dead in the Future arc due to Byakuran's antics. Something that doesn't come up too often, as the actual version of Yamamoto that had to deal with that disappears for like our present Yamamoto to show up. But because of the fact that this arc takes place in the past, we actually get to see present Yamamoto's like feelings about that fact, and like seeing his like little time with his like dad, because like the fact that like he understands that their time together could be very short is honestly just really nice to see, and adds like a lot more to like the idea that like Reborn brings up over and over again about like the protection of like the daily life that they all like live outside of these battles, more than like the Future arc is really able to properly like establish, because of the fact that like it's so disconnected from like the characters like normal lives. The arc is also able to expand upon the idea of like Verde, the Lightning Arc Boleno, being one of the creators of the Fox system, with us actually getting to see him create prototypes of these devices on screen. Him actually being the main villain in this arc, trying to kill the other Arc Villain with his box weapons. He'll soon stop them obviously gaining Verde and Reborn seals, allowing everyone to go back to the future and thus go back to the canon material, until the anime is done covering the Choice arc, and thus we have to move to the Primo filler, which just isn't as good in my opinion. Not like it's bad, there are actually some decent episodes here and there, like the Yamamoto and Gokudiera episodes, because of course Yamamoto and Gokudiera would be getting good focus even in non-canon material, which is kind of the main issue of this arc, because Yamamoto and Gokudiera benefit from the fact that this filler arc takes place right after the Choice arc, and thus like there's recent manga material for the writers of the anime to bounce off of to create like actually like fulfilling development here. Because like characters like Ryohei and Bari, even though I like their joint episodes, just aren't able to get as like their moments to shine are like through this arc. So like instead of having something to bounce off of and thus like have more additive content in the filler material, this is something that could happen in like any arc for real. That additive part is also a problem because like the Primo family also don't really have a lot that you wouldn't get out of just like reading the manga, because the whole joke with them is that like they basically have the same personalities as like our current Vongola family. They're just like old and dead, and like the only real difference here compared to the manga is that like they just aren't like narrating their lives in like flashbacks, but like they're actual characters on screen. But none of them are really different enough enough to like where it feels like you're really like getting more out of them as characters than what Amano already wrote. And the only one of them that doesn't really have that problem is like Daemon Spade, who is like the main villain of this arc, as he actually has like a decent amount of like backstory worth like looking at and considering. That makes him a little different from Mukuro, even though he's like still just like Diet Mukuro, just like Giotto's Diet Suna, or like any of the other members of the Primo family, basically like Diet members of the Shimo family. And it also isn't very good given the fact that like the actual episodes focused on Daemon Spade are like the most drawn out episodes I had to watch for this video. Not even to mention that like Daemon Spade is actually going to be the main villain of like the next arc we have to cover. So like it's very obvious that there was like an actual like story to tell with him. But like again, maybe I should just read the manga for that. Even though like obviously this probably came out a little before his reign as like a villain in that arc. At the end of the day, these filler arcs are like pretty decent for the most part. I would have to say you should really watch the Arcobaleno trial arc, as I think that arc actually adds a lot to the manga in like a pretty decent way. Like obviously it's like not canon. Actually the way that like both these arcs like happen is kind of like insane given like how the manga story flows. But like again, I think the Arcobaleno trial arc actually like adds a lot to the story overall that like the Primo family arc is just not able to do. But again, the Primo family arc isn't bad. They're just like it's just more okay. See you in another video. Miguel Sakova signing out.